Hey guys, what's up? It's your girl Jordan Desert coming to you with a new video today. I hope everybody is having a wonderful day today and a great week so far. If you are new to my channel, I'm the one and only Jordan Desert. Hope you guys are smiling every day. Hope you're having a wonderful day. And do not listen to people who are going to try to bring you down because you're awesome and amazing just the way you are. But if you are subscribed and are returning, welcome back. So a year ago today, I was on my mission trip in Ecuador. This was my second mission trip out of the country, but my first time to visit Ecuador and go to Ecuador. And I'm not kidding when I say to you guys that this was one of the best trips that I had ever been on besides Honduras. And it was just so incredible, and God really did do a lot of things and had really used our group that had went. And God really just did do a lot of incredible things. So last year I had originally planned on making a video of all the footage that I took in to kind of show you guys what I got to do and experience. But unfortunately I got pickpocketed and my phone had gotten stolen. I'll explain more about that later on in this video, but I thought it'd be really cool a year later. Thought it would be really cool and fun to share with you guys what I had done in Ecuador, from hearing about the trip and preparing for it to going and just sharing what God did on the trip. And hopefully this might encourage somebody and also let you guys know that God can use you, even if he tells you to go to be a missionary in another country. It'll be worth it, and who knows, maybe one day you might get to go on a mission trip and experience that. So without further ado, let's get started. So it all starts back on one Sunday at church in June of 2019, which was exactly a year before the mission trip had happened. Our pastor had made an announcement at the end of service saying, hey, our church is going to be going to Ecuador next summer in June of 2019. If you're interested to hear more about the mission trip, stay after church. And so I told my mom that, hey, I'm going to go to this just to hear more details about it. And after hearing about it, got really excited. I told my mom that, hey, I decided I want to go to Ecuador and just go on this mission trip. And to kind of give you guys a little backstory on my first mission trip, I went to Honduras. It was my first mission trip ever out of the country, my first time to ever visit Honduras. And I had went in July of 2016. It was just 2 months after I graduated high school, and I went with my brother. And after coming home from Honduras, I was just so excited, just telling her about it. And after coming home from Honduras, I told her that if I get an opportunity to go on another mission trip with our church, I want to do it, because like Honduras completely changed my life. It really opened up my eyes and really changed my perspective on things. And God had really done a lot in our group when we went to Honduras, and had really used me and my brother in ways that even our group didn't see. We had talked about it, and we had started talking about ideas on what to do for fundraisers. I remember back in December we had done a bake sale and raised a lot of money, and then February we had sold Valentine's Day grams at my old middle school, which did really great. And then we did farmhouse signs made out of wood, and it turned out really good. And a lot of people, maybe about 10 people bought 10 signs. And towards the end of raising the money, we were almost low on the amount of money we had left to raise. And it was during that time I had gotten a bit worried, just asking like, am I going to be able to finish raising the money in time to go on this? Like, am I not going to be able to make it? But thankfully enough, God did something really amazing. Someone really sweet had given us the exact amount of money that we needed left to finish raising the money, and I was able to pay it all off and was able to go, which thank God for that. He's seriously so awesome. And so for that whole year, even during raising the money, I had spent time in the Word and just spent time praying with God just about the whole trip overall, and just praying that he would use our group to really be his hands and feet and to let the light that he's put in each of us shine. But weeks leading up to the trip, I had started feeling a bit anxious, because with being autistic, I do get very overwhelmed, nervous, and anxious when traveling. And especially sometimes if it's like driving a few hours away to a city in away from my town or going to another state, but going to another country, that made me really worried and a bit more anxious, because I was going to be going on this by myself, but with my church, without any of my family coming with me. So I think that's just what made me a bit more worried and a bit anxious. But thankfully, with spending time in prayer this whole year leading up to the trip, I was so thankful to God that He had watched over me and had used me, and that the people in the group had made sure I was okay, just checked up on me and made sure I stayed safe and was with somebody. So I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, that whole year of just leading up to the trip, raising the money, it was all worth it. Then a year later, on Saturday, June 22nd, 2019, it's the day that we leave for Ecuador. Like, I was so excited about the day finally arriving that I barely got any sleep the night before. But that was just because I had been looking forward to the trip and had counted down the days since I had first heard about the trip. So once I woke up, I had woken up at 8 a.m. just so I got plenty of time to get ready, to make sure I had everything I needed for Ecuador, and had also taken some time to spend in prayer with God, just praying about the whole trip for our group, and mostly praying for my safety and just that I wouldn't get very overwhelmed, nervous, and anxious when traveling the whole time and being in Ecuador. So that made me feel a lot better and more calm and relaxed about the trip. Once I got done praying, I went into the living room to spend some time with my dog Flash before leaving for Ecuador, because I knew he was going to be missing me. So I just took in plenty of time to love on him, kiss him, and let him love on me to death before leaving. After that, we got my suitcase loaded up into the car. I said my goodbyes to all my family members, gave them hugs and kisses, and said that I would see them in a week. And after that, me and my dad left. We went through somewhere to get me breakfast because it was still a little bit early in the morning. And then we headed straight to the airport. Once we got to the airport, one of the adults that was going with us to Ecuador had discussed everything that was going to be going on with the group and with all of the parents, because some of the group was some of the youth from our youth group, and the other half of the group was like people from TF College and some married couples. So after that, we all said our goodbyes to our parents and our loved ones before we left. We got a big group picture together. I, of course, gave my dad a big hug and kiss before he left, and we got a picture and said our goodbyes and said that I will see him in a week. After we left, we got our bags checked, went up to go through security, and we just waited to board the plane. As we were waiting to board the plane, the same adult that had discussed everything with the group and the parents, he discussed with us what we were going to be doing and what was going to be happening. And we also got our cool shirts that we got custom made for the trip. It's always cool to get really cool, neat shirts made for trips like this. And plus, I can save it for my t-shirt quilt that I'm going to plan to make someday. So our flight from Arkansas to Houston, Texas took a little bit because we had about a 15-minute delay. I don't know what was going on, but the delay was 15 minutes. After that delay was over, we finally boarded the plane, and what was really cool about this plane that we were going on, one side had one seat and the other side had two seats, and I just happened to get the side with the one seat, so it was really cool. We finally took off, and it took an hour and a half to fly from Arkansas to Houston, Texas. Once we landed in Houston, Texas, we, of course, got our luggage and did the same thing that we did at the airport in Arkansas. Except this time, as we were waiting to board our plane to Ecuador, we had taken some time to eat lunch and to text our families to let them know what was happening and kind of check in on them as well. Just as we were about to board our plane to fly to Ecuador, there was another delay that happened. So one of the tires on the plane, I think, was flat, and so it took 45 minutes to change it and to put on another one. So we had a 45-minute delay on our flight to Ecuador, which I was not very happy. I think just everyone was not happy about that. After the 45-minute delay was done, we finally boarded our plane, and it took us almost 5 to 6 hours to fly from Texas to Ecuador. The first half of the flight went really good, like nothing was wrong, but then about towards the end it started getting a little bit bumpy, and that kind of worried me a bit. And I could tell because like my stomach was really hurting from the rest of the flight to Ecuador. So like I just said a quick little prayer to God, just like, please get us there safely, like please don't, like please keep us safe on this flight and let us land safely. And then we landed in Ecuador sometime around midnight, which was not fun because like all of us were so tired. Once we landed, we got all of our bags together. We gathered up to make sure everybody was together and we had all of our stuff. And then we went outside to wait for our bus to come. When we went outside, it felt so good. Like it felt so nice and cool, and just looking out at the view of the buildings with all the lights on, it was so beautiful at nighttime. Once our bus finally arrived, we loaded up our luggage and went straight to our hotel. And that was around 1 a.m. And our bus ride from the airport to the hotel was 2 hours. Some of us slept and some of us were like talking to each other. And of course we were taking pictures as well. So after 2 hours of riding on the bus from the airport to the hotel, we finally make it to the hotel sometime almost close to 3 a.m. So we had went to bed around 3 a.m. After we got off the bus, we checked into our rooms, and then after that, we went out to our rooms, and we all just went straight to bed because we were all very exhausted. So we went to bed at 3 a.m. and we only got about 4 hours of sleep because we had to get up at 7 a.m. to go to church the next day, which I was really looking forward to, but I was mainly really happy that we finally got to get some sleep. So the next day we woke up and got ready to go to church that morning. And after all of us got ready, we headed next door to the restaurant that was next to the hotel, which I thought was so cool, and had breakfast. That was where we would go to have breakfast and dinner at every morning and night that we were there. And the breakfast was so good. We had scrambled eggs every single morning with bread, butter and jelly, juice and coffee. And it was so good. Like the jelly, we would sometimes have pineapple jelly and blackberry jelly. And it was really good. And some mornings we would have pineapple juice, blackberry juice, and strawberry. One time we had like tree tomato juice, and it was surprisingly really good. So after we would have breakfast, we got on the bus to head to the church where we would be doing missionary work from like the next 4 days. And everybody at that church was so welcoming, even the pastor. The really cool thing about the church in Ecuador that we were doing missionary work at, their pastor there is a woman, and I think that's seriously so cool and awesome. And so after everybody got into the church, we started service. We started out with singing worship songs, and it was really cool. We sung in both English and Spanish, which I thought, usually I don't really like listening to a lot of songs that has both English and Spanish because it's like kind of hard to understand, but it was really cool. And then our youth pastor that had came with us on the mission trip got to preach a message. And then the missionary that was there doing missionary work in Ecuador at that time was translating for our youth pastor as they were doing the message. And it was a really good, it was really neat seeing the missionary translate for our youth pastor. And then after the message, we went to a time of prayer and worship, and it was just so amazing. Like you could just like feel the presence of God in the room, and like some people were just like crying and just having their arms raised, speaking in tongues. Some had given their life, and some had gotten filled with the baptism of the Holy Spirit, which was an awesome experience. If you have never really experienced what it's like getting filled with the baptism of the Holy Spirit, it is awesome. I know this because like I got filled with the baptism of the Holy Spirit when I was 15, the day that I had given my life to Christ, which was awesome. But back to what I was saying, after spending time in prayer and worship, the pastor had came up and she had shared a little bit of her testimony of what God had done in her life. She had said at one point she had gotten really sick, but then remembered all of a sudden God had completely healed her, and it just completely changed her life. And it just like moved me to tears just hearing her testimony. I always love hearing people sharing their testimony, and it's just so awesome to hear what God did in their life. And then after church was done, we went over to the building that was like next to the church. They were adding on a building just to like expand more. and it looked so cool. We went up to the 3rd floor, which was the rooftop, to see the view of the volcano. When we first got to Ecuador, when we made it to our hotel, I thought it was a mountain from the outside view of my hotel room. I thought it was a mountain, but it turned out it was a volcano, which I thought was seriously the coolest thing ever. And the whole view of like the little houses and the whole village just was so cool. And an interesting thing I had seen in the volcano is there was actually a heart in the volcano. It probably took me about 1 or 2 days to finally notice it, but once I noticed it, I thought that was so cool, and just thought that was so very unique and different from anything that I had ever seen. Then after we did that, we got back on the bus to go head to eat lunch. We went to this really cool restaurant. The food was really nice and really tasty, and the whole restaurant was so pretty. And for lunch, we had rotisserie chicken and french fries, and we also had potato soup, and the potato soup was really good. Unlike my Granny Patty's potato soup, my Granny Patty's potato soup is a lot better, but the potato soup was really good. It reminded me so much of my Granny Patty's potato soup. And then after that, we had dessert, and it was really good. Then after lunch, we went to this really cool town called Lettertown, which is like a little area in Ecuador where it had like little mini pop-up shops. While we were there spending time shopping, we got to go to this really cool ice cream shop and the coffee shop. And the coffee shop was really interesting. It had like the main floor, and then it like had stairs to go up to the first floor and the bottom one. It was really interesting. At the ice cream shop, I got Oreo vanilla ice cream, which is basically like cookies and cream ice cream, but a lot different, and it tasted so good. I didn't get coffee at the coffee shop because I don't really drink coffee just because of how strong the taste is. And then after that, I went and did a little bit of shopping. The first thing I actually bought was a scarf, and it was only $5, which was awesome. And then I bought 2 pairs of earrings that were homemade, and they looked so beautiful. One of the pairs of earrings I actually bought was actually made out of orange peels, which was so cool. And then I bought 2 bracelets, one for me and my sister in our favorite colors. And then I got a backpack, and I was able to bargain it down to $10. It was originally $12, but I was able to bargain it down to $10. Good thing I like to bargain and get a good deal like my mom. And then after we got done in Lettertown, we headed back to the hotel to just like have the rest of the day free, because like we did only get 4 hours of sleep when we arrived. And so some of us went to like the other little mini pop-up shops that was near our hotel, and I ended up getting a Ecuador t-shirt because I always like to get shirts from places I visited. And so I had the rest of the day to kind of get settled in after shopping, and took some time to write in my diary, which I'm so thankful I took time to write every single day that I was in Ecuador, just writing about each day. And then after that, we got ready to go eat dinner, and dinner was so good. We had rotisserie chicken, vegetables, french fries, and we had carrot soup. I will admit, I'm not a very big fan of vegetables, but I will say that the carrot soup was surprisingly tasty, and I really liked it. And so overall, dinner was so good. And then after that, we went to go to the pie and coffee shop that they had there. It was really cute, and it was really nice. Like, it just like smelled so good as you would walk in. And then after we got done doing that, we had gone back up to the hotel, kind of one of the floors. There was an empty area on one of the floors that we had decided to like kind of use that space for like our group discussions, and we had talked about like what we had done that day and just what it was like. And some of us had gotten really emotional. Of course I did, but it was really good. I really enjoyed the group discussions we would do every night before going to bed. After we got done with our group discussion, I had saw that one of the young ladies that had came with us had gotten really emotional, so I had went over to check on her just to see how she was doing. And next thing you know, about 4 more people had gathered around, and we had just like held hands and just started praying. And I just like started feeling Holy Spirit coming down on us as we were praying over this young lady. And like, I didn't know what was going on in her personal life, but like I just knew she needed prayer. So we each kind of prayed, and then After we got done praying, we went up to the rooftop to kind of just look down at like the streets and like the whole kind of town square area. That was what was going on. And then as we were looking down, we had noticed that the people in Ecuador were worshiping this false god, and to me that just like really broke my heart, because they don't realize that they're worshiping a false god, and that they were really missing out on the greatest thing, and that was living their life for God, even though they don't know who God is. They were worshiping a false god and just like singing and doing this dance for it, and it just really shocked me. But I was really thankful that I live my life for God and know that He is the real thing and the real deal. And so like that just completely shocked me and made me feel really sad for the people. And then after that, we went straight to bed. I had finished writing in my diary, took a shower, and we all just went to bed. So the next day was Monday, June 24th, 2019. And from June 24th to June 27th were our days we were doing missionary work. So those 4 days, we would always go up to the church to help work on the building that they were trying to finish adding on to their church. And then from June 25th to the 27th, we did 3 days of VBS for the kids, which was a lot of fun. But that day, after we had gotten up to get ready and to go eat breakfast, we had gotten on the bus to go to the church. So those 4 days, every morning when we would come up to the church, we would take a little time to listen to a message that the missionary at the time that was doing missionary work there at the time would do a little message. And then after that, we would practice putting on the full armor of God and spend time in prayer before going to work on the building. That first day of doing missionary work, he had done a message about putting on the full armor of God and being His hands and feet. And it was really good. He definitely had a lot of good points to that little message. After he had gotten done, we had practiced putting on the full armor of God, quoting the scripture that talks about the full armor of God somewhere in Ephesians. And after that, we prayed just to like have a good day and that God would just use us. And after that, we got assigned to our groups of what we were going to do. There was one group of people that did painting, and I was part of that. And another group of people had done like putting bricks in the wall and like mixing concrete together, stuff together that you would mix to make concrete. After we got done praying and telling everybody what to do, we got split into groups, and I went to go do painting. We had like mask on and gloves because like the paint was really strong, had a really strong smell, and sometimes I'm a little sensitive to really strong smells that give me a headache. But the first day doing mission work at the church, we had scraped the walls and had done this whitewash on it. We had to do scraping on the walls to get it nice and smooth for the paint to stay on really nicely. And after we got done scraping, we had done the whitewash. It's a sort of wash that kind of helps clean the walls before adding the paint onto it. And we kind of did that for 3 hours. It honestly did not feel like 3 hours of work, but it was a lot of fun. I will say that my hands did hurt a lot because I was holding on to the thing that we used to scrape. It was hard. And some of the walls, it was hard to scrape because some of them were like really tall because it was like a 2-story building. But we got the scrape done, and then we got about 90% of the whitewash done. But we like weren't able to finish all of it, so we like had to finish the next day. After we got done doing 3 hours of work on the building that was next door to the church, we went into the church to eat lunch and get stuff ready for VBS for the next 3 days. And the theme of VBS was superheroes, which was a lot of fun. And we also practiced doing the motions for the songs that we were going to do for the 3 days of VBS, which was a lot of fun. And then after we got done doing all of that, we got back on the bus to head back to the hotel to have time to relax and do a little shopping at some of the stores or the little market, the pop-up shops that were in the town square, which was really cool. And one of those shops there was like this little mini grocery store. It was really cute and so unique. And all the prices were really reasonable. I was very surprised at that, how everything was like, some things were cheap, some were a little expensive. And while we were there, I got like 2 little mini bottles of Pepsi to drink because I like soda. And then I also got a little mini thing of Oreos because I love Oreos. I definitely got my love of Oreos from my dad. And then after we did a little shopping, we went back to the hotel to get ready for dinner. And then for dinner that night, we had pork. We had potato cakes, some type of vegetable, and we had sliced avocado, and we also had sort of like this thing of chicken noodle soup. The broth and the noodles and the chicken noodle soup was so good. I didn't really eat the vegetables because I am a bit of a picky eater, but it was good. The pork was really, really good. That was definitely one of my favorite things we had at the restaurant, and will always be. Like, it was so good that not a lot of people could eat there, so they were like, do you want to have it? So like, I got to have what was left because it was so good. The potato cakes were really, really tasty, I will say that. And I tried the avocado for the first time. I really was kind of scared of trying avocado for a while just because I am very sensitive to textures, like sometimes to textures of food because of my autism. So I tried it and I did not like it at all, so I am thankful I don't have to eat it if I don't want to, but I was very proud of myself for trying it. And it was just really good. Like, and then after dinner we went to some of us went to the pie shop and some of us went to the coffee shop. I had went with the group that was going to the pie shop. I didn't get any pie because there was only one pie that was there. And so one person had gotten a slice of pineapple pie, which I was kind of surprised at because I didn't think pineapple would be like a good pie filling. And so I asked if I could try just a bite of theirs, and I ended up really liking it. And now that I'm talking about it, I really miss it. But it was really good. Like, their pie crust, I don't know what they did to their pie crust, but it's so good and nice and crispy. Just the way it's cooked, it's so good. And so, like, I decided to wait, like, the next night to get pie to try. And then after that, we came back to the hotel to do our group discussion like we would usually do every night before going to bed. And it was really good. Like, it was definitely very encouraging for me because, like, we each went around just, like, saying what was on our heart. Like, I ended up, like, telling them, like, what had been on my heart and what I had been dealing with before coming to Ecuador. And it just felt really good to get it off my chest. I just felt a sense of peace and relief. And then after that, we went back to our rooms to get ready for bed. Of course, I had always taken a shower before going to bed just so, like, I could be clean for the next day. And in my room, I had 2 moms that came on the mission trip. I was like roommates with them, and I remember just talking to one of them, just needing one of them to talk to about what was on my heart and what I'd been kind of struggling with before coming with. And what they had told me was very encouraging for me and just what I needed to hear. And they had prayed for me, and I felt so much better. And after that, I went to bed a lot better, and I took the time to write what we did that day. What I did every day while we were in Ecuador was write in my diary because I had wanted to, like, just write down what we had done each day, be able to kind of look back and read on what we did each day, which I'm so thankful I did because I can get the chance to tell you guys what we did. So that was how day 1 of doing missionary work went. So the next day was Tuesday, June 25th, 2019, day 3 of the mission trip and day 2 of doing missionary work. That morning for breakfast, we had pineapple juice and pineapple jelly, and it was so good. Definitely just the right amount of sweetness. And it definitely tasted very different from pineapple that I've had here. It's like you really taste difference with everything that we ate because it was made with all natural ingredients, like no artificial ingredients, no artificial sweeteners or syrup. It's like you can really tell, like, how different it tasted. But it was so good. And then after we got done eating breakfast and getting ready for the day, we went out to the church. We had done our little message, practiced putting on the full armor of God, and spent time of prayer. And then after that, we got straight to work. This was second day of doing painting, but, like, we had finished scraping and washing the walls, and after a few minutes of getting done with that, we had finally started painting, which was a lot of fun. When we were doing the painting, we had to wear masks and gloves because the paint was really strong. Like, the smell of it was really strong. And with me, I'm someone very sensitive to really strong smells. So thank goodness for the mask. I will say it was kind of hard to breathe in the mask because and be able to see through my glasses, because my glasses were fogging up from my breathing of wearing the mask. So first half of painting, we got halfway up the building, kind of up to the middle of between the first and second floor of the building that we were working on, helping them with. And it was hard. That one wall I was talking about earlier, where I was scraping up, where it was kind of hard to reach to the point I had to grab a longer stick to attach the scraper onto. It was much easier to do the painting than it was to do the scraping, but it was a lot of fun. We definitely were covered in paint afterwards. I had little specks of white paint on my glasses and of course on my shirt, and workout leggings that I was wearing. And then after we got done painting for that day, we had gotten a group picture of our paint team, of the paint team together, of all of us covered in paint, which was a lot of fun. And after that, we went to eat lunch and then get the stuff ready for the first day of VBS, which was really, really exciting. I was so excited because I have a huge heart for kids and babies, but little kids mostly. So I was really looking forward to that coming on the trip. After we got everything ready for VBS, the first day of it, we loaded up onto the bus and headed to where VBS was at. Where VBS was at, it was very beautiful. I'm not kidding. It was it's like you could almost take a picture of it and use that picture on a postcard. It is so beautiful. The mountains and just all the colors, in the sky, the clouds, just everything. The whole view was just beautiful. And funny thing was, as we were up there, we saw some animals. We got to see a bunch of animals while we were up there, cows, goats, pigs. I'm trying to think if we saw some chickens or not, but it was really neat. And of course we did see a bunch of dogs while we were in Ecuador, but we couldn't touch the animals just because we didn't know if they had a disease, or they didn't want us to get sick from touching the animals. So, but yeah, we saw animals while we were at VBS. But yeah, once we got there, we got everything set up, and once we got done doing that, we got to play with the soccer ball, kick the soccer ball for a couple of minutes. And then we see the trucks. They had 2 trucks full of kids that they would take 2 trucks to go pick up the kids to bring them to VBS. That's how the kids were able to come. Total, there was 30 kids on the first day of VBS, which was so awesome. And once all the kids arrived, we would play soccer with them for a little bit. We would play a couple of games, and then we would head inside to start VBS. So before VBS started, they had asked for 2 volunteers to come up to do emotions and help out with the message. And I instantly raised my hand because I had wanted to do something like that for the longest time and thought it'd be cool if I could do that on this mission trip. And so I got to help do the motions to the songs, and got to help do the Bible verse, the main Bible verse that they would do for VBS, which was so much fun. And then after the songs and message, we would split into groups for arts and crafts. And the first day of VBS, we did the mask that we had traced and cut out. And a lot of the kids' masks were so colorful and really good. I was very surprised at how good they were. And then after VBS was done, they would go home, but we would give them snacks, a drink and a snack to give them, because it kind of was around that time where it was kind of that snack time. One thing I will say is that the kids down in Ecuador are really good at soccer. I'm really terrible at soccer, but when I went to Honduras and Ecuador, I just ended up being really good at soccer. So, because I have a really good strong kick with my right foot. After all the kids got loaded up into the trucks, they took them home, and we had actually climbed up to the little mountain where the trucks were at that had picked up the kids to come. and it was just so beautiful. Like, I will be honest to say I did run out of breath, like, once I would make it to the top. Like, it was much easier going down the hill to go to the little building where VBS was at than climbing up, but the whole view was just beautiful. And even before we left, this little girl came up to all of us, and she just ran around to each of us one at a time and gave us a hug. And then after she did that, she had left, and that just almost made me cry in that moment. But it was just the sweetest thing, and that's something I will always remember from the first day of VBS. After that little girl left, we had gotten a group picture together on top of that little mountain where the trucks would come to drop the kids off for VBS. And then after we got our group picture, we went back to get ready for dinner. And for dinner, we had steak and eggs, and the steak was really good. I didn't really eat the eggs because of the way they were cooked. It was like white with the yolk kind of running a little. I don't really like my eggs like that, but the steak was really, really good and so juicy. And the coolest thing happened is while we were eating dinner, this group of people was playing some music at the restaurant, and they did a really good job. Like, they really played their instruments really good, and the music just sounded so beautiful, and it was definitely just made dinner that night just even more really nice and really amazing. So after dinner, we had done our group discussion before going to the pie shop and coffee shop, because usually it would be reversed. We would either go to the pie shop or coffee shop and then do our group discussion, but we had kind of switched it. And in our group discussion, we had just discussed about what we had done that day, and I had happened to just say a few things that was like my favorite things that had happened of what we did, and even mentioning about the little girl that had came up to hug each of us. And I actually ended up I started getting a little bit emotional just talking about that, because like that just really touched my heart. And just seeing her smiling at us and saying hi and saying goodbye, even though she probably didn't speak much of English, it really had just made my day so amazing. And that was something I will always remember about the third day of being in Ecuador. And after we got done doing discussion, we had prayed, and then we had split into two groups, one group for the coffee shop and the other group for the pie shop. I, of course, went to the pie shop because I had wanted to see like what other flavors of pie they had. They, of course, had pineapple, and then they had apple out. So I was like, I got one slice of pineapple and one slice of apple with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. It had cost a little extra, and it cost $2 more if you had added a scoop of ice cream with your pie, but it was definitely worth the money. I ate my pineapple pie first, and then I tried the apple pie with the vanilla ice cream, and oh my gosh, it was just so good. Like, after eating that, I told myself I don't think I could ever eat apple pie the same ever again. It was so good. The pie crust is seriously so delicious, and it's so crispy and a little crunchy like when you bite into it, but the filling is just amazing. And the vanilla ice cream in Ecuador is really good. It's like just the right sweetness, not like so overpowering, and it just like helps cool down the ice cream, kind of helps cool down the pie. And I had like asked them if they could heat up the pie just because like I wanted it to be nice and warm, and it was so good. Yeah, definitely worth buying two slices of pie, buying a slice of two different pies, and definitely worth it. And then after that, we went back to the hotel to get ready for bed. I, of course, had taken my shower like I would do every night when we would come back to get ready for bed to go to bed for the next day. And after I got a shower, I got ready for bed and wrote in my diary about what we did that day and went to bed happy. I think it was that night as I was sleeping, there were loud noises going off. I think like fireworks shooting off or loud noises like poppers going off. And so like I think I woke up once just because of the loud noises that were going on outside. But other than that, I slept good, even though except only waking up once to the loud noises outside. So the next day was Wednesday, June 26, 2019, the halfway mark of the trip, day 4 of being in Ecuador and day 3 of doing missionary work. Wednesday was a little bit different, mostly because we had to wake a little bit earlier than usual because traffic was a little busy. So we woke up a little bit earlier than usual to eat breakfast and try to hurry to get on the bus to beat traffic as much as we could to get to the church. Once we got out to the church, we of course did our little message, but this time the missionary's wife, that there was a couple in Ecuador at the time, was doing missionary work there for a while, and this time his wife had done the message. And this one, like, I will never forget this one on our third day of doing missionary work, because she had done a really good message, and her husband had actually told us about this little girl who was kind of paralyzed from half of her body, like the bottom half of her body, her legs were paralyzed. And they had said that she had like wanted to come like hear about God's word, but was like not able to because like not being able to like get to, and like didn't have a wheelchair. And just like after hearing them tell us about that little girl, like I just started crying and just getting emotional just because it broke my heart. And they said they had told us that hopefully she could come to VBS like the last day of VBS. So like after the message and hearing them tell us about that little girl, like I just started getting emotional, and like I could just feel like God's presence coming down on me on that day. So like after the message, we had practiced putting on the full armor of God, quoting the scripture that talks about the full armor of God. And then as we were praying, like I just started crying, like my eyes, like I was bawling my eyes out, just praying about that little girl, just asking God that if she come, like hopefully just praying that she would be able to make it to our last day of VBS and can have the opportunity to hear about God and know who he is. And I don't know why, but I just like felt in my heart God telling me that he wanted me to pray for her if she was able to come. But I told myself that if she wasn't able to make it to our last day of VBS, I would completely understand the reason why, but I was just really hoping that she would make it, and just continued to pray on throughout that whole day for that little girl to come. And then after we got done praying, we got to work, and this was our second day of doing painting. We had done like another coat on, we had done a second coat on top of the first coat of paint that we had done on the walls. And the first half was a little bit easy, but doing the top half, like I had to go up to the second floor and like kind of reach through the window to like paint. And it was a little hard, like my back was kind of hurting a bit, but I was glad that we had really long sticks to attach the paint rollers onto. And I almost forgot, I think it was this day that this happened, but as we left the hotel to go quickly eat breakfast and get ready to head to church, I had completely forgotten to bring my water bottle with me to kind of keep myself hydrated. And because like we had to have our own water bottles to have clean water, because like we couldn't really drink the water in Ecuador because like we didn't know, because like we didn't want to get sick and keep ourselves protected. But I had completely forgotten my water bottle to bring it with me that day. But I was thankful enough that God got me through. I was able to get through the rest of the day not dehydrating, which thank God. Like I was very impressed with the fact that I was not tired at all and didn't feel dehydrated. I just tried to do my best to continue working even though I was thirsty. And nearly felt like I was about to pass out, I just kept going without even telling anyone I had forgotten my water bottle. And the coolest thing about this day on painting the walls, they said we were allowed to paint the pipe. We had like maybe one or two pipes on the outside of the wall that we were working on painting. And I did like the bottom half, like I was able to do the bottom half until I couldn't reach up any more higher. And then one of the two ladies that came with us, they were both moms there were mainly two couples and another mom that came on this mission trip with us. And one of them we were able to use a ladder to climb up to finish painting the rest of the pipe. And I had originally wanted to get on the ladder to paint the pipe, but I was a little scared to do it because like I don't I somewhat don't feel comfortable being on ladders, but like that's just me. And one of the ladies I actually had overcome her fear of heights, which I was seriously so proud of her for that. Like, I'm still very proud of her to this day for doing that. Like, even though she was scared to do it, she still did it and still got the job done. I was so proud of her for that. And then as she would paint, she would drop the paint roller down to like so that the other mom that came with us with her son, she had tossed up the paint roller and she was actually able to catch it a few times. So like I had went to go get my cell phone because I had wanted to record the lady that was on top of the ladder catching it. Like, it took a few tries, but she finally got it on the second try, and I was able to catch it on video, which I really wish I could show you guys it. But yeah, like I said, my phone got stolen. I'll explain that, and that's coming up later on in the video. So like, I still thought that was very cool that she was able to catch it while being on the ladder. And of course, after we got done doing painting for the day, we of course got a group picture of all of us covered. We were like mostly covered in paint. Like, we had some spots or like some streaks of paint on our shirt or pants. And I remember specifically on this day, I had accidentally leaned up my left arm against the wall as the paint was drying. And next thing I know, as I kind of lift my arm, I had noticed that the paint had looked like it was like a tree, in the shape of a tree on my arm. And so I thought that was super cool. Just thought that was really cool. Like, when I kind of like lifted my arm off the wall, I had gotten paint and it was actually in the shape of a tree, which I thought was so cool. So like, I got a picture of it. After we did that, we got kind of cleaned up a little bit, tried to get like as much of the paint off as we could, and got changed to go get ready to go do VBS for the kids. And this was only day 2 of VBS, and what was really cool about day 2 was that 30 more kids showed up on day 2, so end up a total of 60 kids showed up on day 2 of VBS, which was awesome. But before the kids had came, we got everything set up, and we had actually decided to take a little bit of time to spend in prayer before the kids came, which was awesome. On this day, after we got done praying, I had actually saw about 3 to 4 cows in like the little field where we were at, and I thought that was so funny. I was joking around saying, hey, there's the Chick-fil-A cow. But it was a lot of fun, and as the kids were showing up before playing the games and going inside, I remember seeing 2 little girls, or 1 or 2 little girls, singing by one of the soccer goals, and I was just going over there to see if they were doing okay. And I took them over to the swing set because like they had like a little soccer field, well, not the green, but like a dirt road area with 2 soccer goals and then a little swing set. And so I took them over there and just kind of played with them and pushed them on the swings, which was so much fun. After a while, we got done playing the games and then went inside to do VBS, which was a lot of fun. And it just made me really happy, the fact that there was a total of 60 kids that came, which was seriously so awesome. After we got done with VBS, the kids got their snacks. We handed out snacks like usual, and then we got to help load the kids up into the trucks that picked them up to bring them, and they went home. And then of course we got on the bus to go back to the hotel to get ready for dinner. So for dinner we had pork chops, french fries, and vegetables. The pork chops were really good. Like, I think the seasoning was what made it really good, but the pork chop was so good and tasty. And of course the french fries were really, really good. Like, the one thing I will say, I was thankful that I finally did get something to drink, because like I was really thirsty. Even though I did make it through the whole day of doing missionary work without water, I was thankful that I finally had something to drink. I did have a little bit of water, but I had like Sprite to drink. While we were at dinner, one lady's had a special treat for us. The special treat she had for us was that she wrapped for us, and she was really good. Like, I was really impressed with what she did, and she did a really good job. We split into 2 groups. Like, the adults went to the coffee shop to do the group discussion, and there were a few teenagers that came on this mission trip, so it was like a mixture of adults and the youth group, some of the youth group. And some of the teenagers that had came on the Switch trip had went to the hotel to do their group discussion, so it was a little different doing it. And we had just like talked about what we did, had a little message, and I had kind of mentioned about one of the ladies that was on the ladder day about overcoming her fear of heights, and just thought that was really encouraging and thought it'd be really cool to share that. And then once we got done with our group discussions, some of us either went to the pie shop or the coffee shop to get coffee or pie. I of course went to the pie shop and got a slice of apple pie with ice cream, and I had them asked if they could warm up the pie, and it was so good. Like, I really loved their apple pie so much. Like, it's definitely still one of my favorites, and I still can't stop thinking about it. Like, I would really love to have a slice, but I can't because I'm not in Ecuador. But after that, we went up to the room, just went back up to our rooms to go to bed and be ready for the next day. I, of course, made sure to take some time to write in my diary just about what we did, and mentioning about one of the ladies overcoming her fear of heights on the ladders while painting. So that, I was really proud of that, really proud of her, and it just definitely a good day, and it was just awesome. So the next day was Thursday, June 27, 2019. It was the 5th day of our mission trip in Ecuador. And it was also our very last day of doing missionary work, which I was a little bit sad about because, like, I didn't want the trip to end. But it was a really good day. We actually had to get up a little bit early to get up to the church early to, like, do some stuff a little bit early before getting to work. But that morning at breakfast, we had strawberry juice, and it was really, really good. And we had butter and honey for the bread, which was really good. After that, we got on the bus to head up to the church one last time to do missionary work, and it was a really good day. So we did our little message, had practiced saying the scripture about putting on the full armor of God, prayed, and I just had prayed that our last day of doing missionary work would be really good and would end on a really good high note. And then after that, we went and finished doing everything one last time. So for our last day doing missionary work, the third day, we had gone onto the roof first to just sweep, and then we had to finish doing the painting because we couldn't really finish from doing the second floor, so we had to do it from the rooftop. Doing it from the rooftop was honestly a bit more harder because we had to really hold the sticks with the paint rollers on them, just make sure they didn't drop. Being the person I was being super extra careful holding the paint stick with the paint roller on it, and next thing you know, it just dropped. So one of the young ladies that was painting had tried to throw it up to me, and it completely missed. And then one of the guys that was helping had thrown it up, but it had landed on the second floor, which I thought was funny. So I went down, got it, and went to go wash it off to get so I could go and get a new paint roller. But we did it. It was honestly a lot harder than I'd expected, but we got it done. And funny thing was, while we were finishing up on painting, our children's church pastor that came with us on the mission trip had played some music, and of course, whenever it's good music that makes you want to dance, I of course danced along to it, and it was just fun. It was just a really good day. Finally got done doing the last bit of work. I was trying to finish up what I had left to do before going down to eat lunch, but I didn't. After I got done eating lunch, I had came back and finished what I had left to do, and then we were done doing missionary work at the church, and I could just tell the building looked so much different than what it looked like when we had first started. It looked so much better. So after we got done helping them finish working on the building, we went to eat lunch, and we were also filling up bags of popcorn to hand out to the kids as snacks at VBS. And then after that, they had us step outside for a few minutes because they surprised us with a little mini pop-up shop, which was a lot of fun. I did get a few things. I got a little horse keychain for my sister. I got a really cute pink headband and a cute little purse that was so pretty. And after we did all that, we loaded up onto the bus one last time at the church to head to do VBS on the last day. Now, the last day of VBS, I really will not forget this ever. It's so memorable. But like, I remember the last day of VBS, 90 kids had showed up on, I think it was 91 kids, but overall 90 kids had showed up on the last day, and it was just crazy how like 30 more kids had came on the last day, and I was just completely blown away and just surprised in an awesome way. Like, that just was awesome. We had set up everything, we had prayed, we had like got a little bit of extra time to like kick the soccer ball around before the kids had showed up. Even before we went inside, as we were playing games, I kind of looked up just to kind of see the other kids walking up, and next thing you know, I see one of the young men that had came with us on the mission trip carrying this little girl, and then I suddenly realized it was the little girl whose legs were paralyzed from the waist down. And that seriously just made me so happy. Like, I almost had started crying when I saw her. I was so excited, and just thank God so much for answering my prayer about her hoping to come. During our last day of VBS, me and my our youth pastor's wife, me and her kind of got to stay by the little girl most of the time and just helped her out. And it was just so much fun. Like, it just made my last day doing missionary work even more awesome. She really enjoyed it. She had so much fun watching it and getting to participate and getting to do her own arts and crafts. After that, we gave the kids their snacks before they left, and we had played with some of the kids before they had left to go home, which was hard. Like, I was saying my goodbyes to all the kids, mostly the little girls. Before the little girl whose legs were paralyzed, I had actually asked if it was okay if I could just pray over her. And one of the couples that had came on the trip, like, were with me, and they decided to pray for her. And so I just seized the opportunity and just took that opportunity to just pray over her and just prayed that God would use her to be a walking testimony of like what had happened, and I just prayed for her. And I, of course, nearly started getting emotional while I was praying, just because I just felt so happy that God had answered my prayer the day before. She left really happy, and she really enjoyed VBS that day. On our very last day doing missionary work, I kind of went back to playing with some of the kids and saying my goodbyes. And I had watched the young man that had carried her down for VBS. I had watched him carry her up to the truck, and of course got a bit emotional just because it was so sweet watching that. I remember after the kids had loaded up into the truck and had left, I remember loading up onto the bus, and I had just started crying because it was so sad, because I didn't know when I was going to get to see those kids again. And I was very happy. I was also crying happy as well, because I was so happy that I got a chance to make an impact on those kids' lives and make an impact letting them know about God, that I got an opportunity to tell them about God the days we were doing VBS, and it was just so amazing. After the kids had left, we had to go and pick up the young man that had carried the little girl whose legs were paralyzed. We had to go pick him up because he was in the back of the truck with the kids that they were taking home. And I could just tell that as he was getting on the bus, I could tell that he had slightly started crying, and it was really rare for me to ever see him get emotional like that. But like, I think I could just tell it was a little hard saying goodbye. But that was really sweet, like getting to witness him carrying her down the hill to the building where VBS was at and carrying her up the hill. It was just very sweet for me. And like, even I started getting emotional just because it just was so touching, and just like made my last day doing missionary work even more amazing. So after we had picked him up, we went back to the hotel to get ready for dinner. And for dinner, we had pork chops, vegetables, and french fries again for dinner. And we had broccoli soup. I am really not a big fan of broccoli, nor do I eat broccoli soup. So I actually didn't end up eating it just because I didn't like it. But dinner was really good. Like, it was just really awesome, like, not only eating dinner, but also kind of getting to talk with everybody just about what we did and just how the last day of doing missionary work went. So it was really good. After dinner, we had kind of split into two groups again, going either to the pie shop or coffee shop. I, this time, had went to the coffee shop just to kind of at least go to the coffee shop. Like, I didn't order coffee, but it, like, just looked so pretty inside. And while we were at the coffee shop, we had recognized one of the men that had worked on the building that was next to the church. We actually got to go. He had just happened to be in the town square near the coffee shop. So, and he said, like, he needed to see the whole painting team because he was the main person that had helped the people that were on the paint team kind of give us instructions. So, and he needed to see everybody that was on the paint team. So we all got to see him, and he surprised the whole paint team with bracelets that he had picked out and bought for each of us, which completely, like, just made my day even more awesome. And after he handed out the bracelets, we all got a group picture together of, like, the paint team together. And it was just so much fun. Like, that just, like, really ended the day on an even more greater note and just made it even more awesome. And then after that, we had went back to the hotel to do our discussion. So for our group discussion this night, it was a bit different because we had decided to go around and say something about each person that was in the group that came. And, like, one person could choose one person from the group and a few other people can say something about it, and it was really good. We definitely all started crying. We were all crying. We were all very emotional. Just because, like, it's really ever rare for people to say nice stuff. And when it got to my turn, there were 4 people who said nice stuff about me, and it was so sweet to the point that I was just crying just because of what they said. Like, I'm one of those people that's very sentimental if it's either they say something good about me or something bad, but it was all nice stuff. And it's just rarely ever rare for people to say nice stuff about me, which was really nice. And I, of course, was an emotional wreck just because of all the crying I did. Just hearing what they said about me was really sweet. And as we were doing this, one of the people in the group was not feeling really good, so they, like, went back to their room. And as that happened, we just, like, stopped to just take a moment and pray for that person who was not feeling good. And about a few minutes later, that person who wasn't feeling good came out feeling so much better, not feeling sick anymore. And that was just the power of prayer. Like, that's what happens when you pray, is that God is seriously so good. So, like, they came out a few minutes later feeling so much better, not feeling sick anymore, which I was really impressed. Was just blown away at just how awesome God was. After we got done doing that, we had prayed and went to bed so, like, we could be ready for the next day. And of course, I took my time to just write about what we did, and I was really glad we had that group discussion. It was really awesome, like, just kind of going around taking our time to share something about each person, or, like, just say what we wanted to. And it just was really awesome. Like, after that, like, I could tell my eyes were hurting from crying so much. I think everybody's eyes were red and hurting so much from all the crying we did. But it just, like, ended our last day of doing missionary work on a great note. For me, at least, it ended on a great note, and I was very happy with what we got to do in Ecuador, and I was definitely very excited about the next day getting to be our free day. So the next day was Friday, June 28th, 2019. It was our second to last full day being in Ecuador, and it was actually our free day. So the great thing is we got to sleep in a little bit more on that day, which was really nice since it was our free day. And then after sleeping in for a little bit, we got up and got ready for our free day, and we had breakfast. And so originally what we were going to do on our free day was go walking on a trail through a waterfall, but unfortunately the trails had got flooded by rain. So we ended up going walking on a trail up a mountain, and it was so cool. But, like, we ended up eating lunch on the bus on our way up to go walking up the mountain, and it was good. Then we got up to the mountain where we were going to be walking up and going down. It was so beautiful. Like, the view of the mountains were just so breathtaking and just absolutely beautiful. It was like looking at a postcard. And of course, like, our youth pastor's wife was taking pictures. She got a couple of pictures of a couple of people. She got some of me just like walking, and the more higher we were getting up, the more it was getting harder to go up, because like in Ecuador, like the altitude, like the atmosphere is a little bit higher, so like the air is a little bit higher. So like I was running out of breath, so I like had to stop to kind of just rest and like catch my breath. But thankfully, I finally made it to the top with everybody else, and we were actually over 10,000 feet up on that mountain, but the view was so worth it. Just took my breath away. And then after all of us got to the top, we went back down to get on the bus to go up to the church one last time. Once we got to the bottom, we all got a group picture together, and it was fun. We took a regular picture, and then we, of course, had to do a silly one. Like, of course, when you take a picture, you, of course, have to do a regular one, and then you get to do a silly one. Then after that, we got loaded back up on the bus to go back to the church one last time for the rest of our free day. So when we got to the church, we had to wait a little bit because some kids were coming up to kind of play with us. Sorry, there's a little fly in my room. And so we decided to kind of go around to anywhere in the building to just like put our hands on it to pray. The missionary that was there had put a little bit of oil on each of our hands, and so that way, like, we can, when we would put our hands on the walls on any part of the building that we were at, like, to pray on. So I don't know why, like, they do that, but they just do that. I had went to one area of the building that we had helped work on to kind of help them finish. I had put my hand on there and kind of just prayed over the building that God would do so many great things in that building. After I got done praying, I took my hand off, and I saw my fingerprints, which was so cool. But I did not like the way it felt in my hand, so I put some Germ-X on my hand. I just happened to put it a little too much on, so I like stuck my hand back on the same place where I had stuck my hand at, and I took it off, and I left my handprint. So I kind of decided to do something really cool. I had like added more Germ-X to get my hand as well as I could to kind of make my handprint really noticeable. And I finally got to the point like where my full handprint was on the wall, and I kind of wanted to like leave a mark on that wall, like leave my handprint on that wall, so like it could be on that wall forever. Even when it would fade away, my handprint will still always be on that wall of that building. Kind of like something to kind of remind myself, knowing that I got to help work on that building and got to help them like go one step further in finishing that building. So even though my handprint has faded away, like my handprint will always be on that wall. So that's something that will always be very memorable for me, which I'm really glad I did that. Kind of left my mark on that building. And then after we got done praying in the building, all around the building, we came back and the kids finally arrived. We got to go and play soccer. Got to go play soccer with them, like play with them on the swing sets, on the slide. It was so much fun. Like, before we had headed to the soccer field, two little girls in particular kind of came and just hung out with me, kind of stuck to me like glue most of the time, and it was a lot of fun. As I was playing with those two little girls, they had noticed that I was just braiding my hair just to kind of, I was doing it because I was a little bit bored, but like kind of keeping myself entertained, and they were watching me and they thought it was really cool, so I kind of decided to teach them how to do a braid and do it in their hair as well. It just was a lot of fun. Like, those two little girls were so much fun, and I noticed one of them was wearing a Frozen shirt, and I said I knew who that was on their shirt and just sung a little bit of Frozen, the song Let It Go from Frozen, and it was a lot of fun. Then after a while, we went back up to the church because we had a little surprise for the couple that was missionaries there at the time, the husband. We had surprised the husband with like a little mini birthday party with some cake and some soda. and he was completely surprised, had no idea. Like, that was a lot of fun. He was completely surprised. So we had some cake. It was like a tres leches cake, which is basically cake that you put 3 different types of milk in to soak into the cake, and it is so good. So like, there was 2 cakes, so like there was enough for everybody to at least have maybe 2 slices. After that, the pastor had came up to say a few words. She had just wanted to say to everybody, thank you so much for helping out, and that they really did appreciate it. All the hard work we had put into helping them continue working on the building. After she got done saying a few words, she had surprised everybody, wanted to give us all something. She gave every single person in the group that had came to Ecuador a really cool bracelet that had like the colors. That had like the colors of their country, and it was red, blue, and yellow striped, which was so pretty. I still have it. And then for the ladies, they gave us scarves. And for the boys, they gave them guinea pig keychains, and they were so adorable. And then after that, we just said our goodbyes and got pictures with everybody. We got a big group picture with the pastor and all the people that were working at that church. It was very hard saying goodbye, and of course, I said goodbye to the couple that were missionaries there and got a picture with them. I kind of had one of the young men that came with us spoke Spanish, so like I told him that I wanted to say something to one of the young ladies there, but I couldn't really. I'm not very fluent in Spanish. I do know a few words here and there, but I had him kind of translate what I wanted to say to her for me. I had him translate what I wanted to say to her, and she had him translate what she was trying to say to me, and it was so sweet. And of course, I got emotional. I wish I would have wrote down what I had said to her, kind of have something in mind in handwriting. I really wish I would have wrote it down for her to keep, but I just wanted to say it, and I was really glad I did. After that, we all loaded up into the bus. I had gotten on the bus a little early, and as I was sitting on the bus waiting for us to leave to go back to the hotel, I had just started getting emotional. I was crying. I was both happy and sad, so I was crying both happy and sad tears. But I was mostly really sad the fact that this was our last day going up to this church, and I was really sad the fact that this was my last time seeing these people, because like I don't know whenever I'm going to get to see them again. And so like I just took a little bit of some time just praying over the church that God would just continue doing amazing work at this church and just really continue making a difference in people's lives, and that people would really know who he is, and just that lives would just be changed in that church. And then after that, after everybody got loaded up, we went back to the hotel to get ready for dinner and went to eat dinner. So we went over to the restaurant one last time to have dinner, and the really cool thing is the couple that were missionaries in Ecuador got to have dinner with us that night, and it was so much fun. And I found out that the husband had really liked Dr. Pepper so much, and I had just happened to have my last 2 little bottles of Dr. Pepper, like little mini travel size ones, and I decided to give it to him and his wife, like as a thank you / birthday gift to him, and they really enjoyed it. And then after dinner, we had split into 2 groups. Like the youth went to the hotel to have their discussion, and the adults went to the coffee shop to have discussion. And it was like our last time doing discussion before leaving to go home. And the discussion we had at the coffee shop was really good. I definitely remembered a lot of things. We said a lot of encouraging things, which really made me feel so good. And we just kind of like reflected back on the trip, just saying like our favorite things, like what we had learned and had taken from the trip. And then after we got done with that, one of the men that had came with us said that the last time he was in Ecuador had gone up to this church to just see what it was like. He had asked if any of us wanted to come see it, like to go see it and look at it, and I of course was like yes. And me, a few other young ladies, and the 2 young men that were there with us, we decided to go, but we went back to the hotel to see if anybody else wanted to go, but it just ended up being us. The really cool thing, this is what was really cool about this happening while we were walking up to that church to go see it. So as we were walking, there was this one dog in particular that was following us. Like, it followed us nonstop, like all the way to the church and all the way back. And I just thought that was so neat. Like, I would keep turning to like watch it to like see if it was stopping, if it had stopped following us. But it just kept going. But as we were heading up to that church that the young man was talking about, there were cars passing by that were just honking, and the dog had ran out and just started barking at it. What was very crazy is the fact that that dog did not get hit once by the cars that were driving, which was so crazy. And it just like followed us all the way up to the church that we were going to see, and the church was just absolutely beautiful. Like, the stained glass windows were very beautiful, and whoever did the stained glass windows on that church should be very proud and did a really great job. After we got done looking at the church for a bit, we went back to the hotel to, I think, do our last discussion. No, to go back and go to bed so we could like be ready for our last full day in Ecuador before going home. Sorry, I had just now remembered I said we had done our group discussions in two different places. And so as we were heading back, we had seen the walls like with paintings on them, and they were just absolutely very, very beautiful. And the attention to detail on the paintings on those walls were just so beautiful. And there was one that had this butterfly on it, was just so beautiful. And it's still cool to think that that dog that was following us on the way up to go see this church had followed us all the way back. It was almost kind of like God was using that dog to protect us as we were walking. I don't know what it was, but I felt like it was just God using that dog to follow us just to make sure we were all right, didn't get hurt, and to protect us. And it just felt like that was a God thing that had happened, which I just thought that was very neat, and just like made my last night in Ecuador very memorable. And as we were getting closer to the hotel to go to bed, we had gotten a picture. The young man that had told us about the church that was in Ecuador had taken a selfie, and we had all kind of got close together to just take a selfie, and it was so much fun. And then after that, we all went up to our rooms and just got ready for bed, and some of us had kind of stayed up to chat for a little bit, and it was such a great night. And I had taken the time to just write in my diary. And earlier that day, I had taken some time to FaceTime my parents, like just to FaceTime my family back home to see how they were doing, and of course to just get to see their face and just tell them about how the trip was going. And of course they got to put the phone, like the FaceTime call on Flash, my dog, just because he was missing me a lot in it. And what was really cool is the fact that when he heard my voice, like he just like went and like put his face in the on the phone. I think just because he was excited to hear my voice, because he hadn't heard my voice for like a full week since I had left to go to Ecuador, and so he was just excited to hear my voice, which really made me even more happy, the fact that I was so excited to get to come home. I was excited and ready to go home, but at the same time I was like, I don't want to leave this place. Like, this place now means so much to me. I don't ever want to leave. Like, I hope I can come back one day if our church does come back to do another mission trip here. I hope I can get to come back one day and maybe see the people that we got to meet for the first time and got to do missionary work with, and just get to spend time with each other. So the next day was Saturday, June 29, 2019, our final full day in Ecuador. It was our free day / the day we were going home. So we spent like most of half of the day doing our shopping and just like kind of getting to see a travel destination spot. And I remember that day we got to sleep in a little bit, which was nice, and we had breakfast one last time. I think this was the day that we had the tree tomato juice, which I thought was very interesting and it tasted good. And after we got done eating breakfast, we had gotten a group picture with everybody, with the people at the restaurant that had made breakfast and dinner for us, and just said our goodbyes, and we just told them thank you so much for everything that they had done for us, for making the food, and just for everything. I was saying goodbye to one of the men that had worked there, and he was telling me something, but I was really having trouble understanding what he was saying. So I had one of the women that was there with us kind of translate what he was trying to say to me. And she had told me that he was trying to tell me that I had kind of looked like Cleopatra just because of the way my bangs looked. Just because of my bangs. And I was like, oh, so, like, okay. And so, like, he just called me Cleo. Kind of just started calling me Cleo after that. So, like, I thought that was kind of really neat how he thought I had looked like Cleopatra from, like, the old Egyptian times. So, like, that's something very memorable from my last day. And after we got done eating breakfast, we had all went to, like, the big shopping market, our shopping day. One of my main things that I was trying to buy was a pair of Converse, because they had said in Ecuador the Converse were really cheap. My favorite pairs of shoes to wear all the time. I had first bought 2 pencil pouches. One, I was mainly buying one for my brother because he really likes to draw a lot and uses a lot of mechanic pencils and Sharpies. So I got him a pencil pouch in the color red because red is his favorite color, and I got me one in the color blue. And then after that, I had bought 2 headbands, one in yellow for my mom, and then 1 headband in blue for my grandma. And then after that, I was on the search for buying me a pair of Converse from Ecuador, and I had happened to pass by this really cool little pop-up shop that had Converse, and I was like, yes, I finally found a pair. And I got the pair in like this really pretty light blue and a size 9, and it fit perfect. And it only ended up costing me $24, which was really cheap, unlike our Converse here in America. And then after that, I just continued shopping, and we happened to pass by this really cool little chocolate shop that was selling chocolate. And we tried a few samples. There were some chocolates I did like, but then there was one that I tried I just did not like as much, just because it was too rich for me. So after we had bought chocolate, we had ended up passing by this little pop-up shop that was outside the store, and they were selling really pretty shirts. And the couple that was with me shopping had got a shirt for her and for her husband's mom, and they ended up buying me a shirt, which is really pretty, and I still have it with me and I wear it occasionally. And then after we got done doing that, I was almost done doing my shopping. I just had to find something for my grandpa and for my dad. And as we were getting close to the hotel that we were staying at, I had happened to pass by this lady that was sitting at this really cool machine making these really pretty bracelets. And it was just so neat watching the process of how she made the bracelets. I always love watching stuff like that, seeing like the process of how stuff is made. And as we were walking by, I had passed by this table that this man was selling little figurines that he had actually made himself. He had like a set of Avengers superheroes, Star Wars, DC, like superheroes, and Star Wars. I ended up deciding to get my dad a little Darth Vader, or I think it was Yoda that I bought. I got one of those 2 for him. And then for my grandpa, I got him a pen that he could use to like write with, because like he writes a lot at work. So I got all of my shopping done for souvenirs done, and we went back up to the hotel to like get our stuff loaded up and put our stuff in the suitcases. And then after we did that, me and the couple that was shopping with me, we went by the little grocery store one last time to get any food that we wanted to take back with us. I had decided to buy some of the jelly that we had at breakfast every morning. I bought a jar of pineapple jelly and a jar of blackberry. And I, of course, bought some Oreos and Pringles to take back with me because I loved how good they tasted. And it's like you can really tell the difference in the tasting. So after that, we checked out and we went to the coffee shop one last time because they had wanted to buy a bag of coffee beans to take home. I had mentioned earlier in the beginning that I had gotten pickpocketed and my phone had gotten stolen. This is where this happens. So after we got done at the coffee shop, we were walking out of the coffee shop and heading back to the hotel to get our bags to load up onto the bus. And I remember I had my hand in my pocket where I usually keep my phone at. And we were halfway close to walking by one of the stores, and next thing I know, I reach into my pocket and I cannot feel my cell phone at all. And so like I just start freaking out on me, and I tell the couple what had happened. I was like, I cannot feel my cell phone. Like, my cell phone was not in my pocket. And so we went back to the coffee shop because that was the last place we were at before heading back. And I remember I was looking around, like, and I knew I had my phone with me, and I was just like freaking out because like I get really worried if something of mine gets stolen or taken from me. Like, I get very worried. And so I was just freaking out and like just thinking, oh my gosh, my dad's gonna kill me for this. Like, this is not good. Like, I was really worried because like everything, my phone is like my life. Like, everything on my phone was very important to me. And so we just went back to the hotel, and because like I was freaking out, and I stayed with them in their hotel room. They were just like really worried about me because I was worried, and just like making sure I was okay. And they told me it was not my fault, that stuff like this happens all the time, that it was not my fault. And I was just really worried. Like, I was so worried to the point that I was crying. And then we ended up realizing that someone had pickpocketed me and stole my cell phone. But thankfully, with being how smart we were, we ended up calling my dad and had him shut everything off of my cell phone, turned everything off of my cell phone, reset my phone. After a few minutes, I just went back up to my hotel room to finish packing and everything. And everybody in the group had ended up finding out that someone had pickpocketed, that my phone had gotten stolen. I was pickpocketed. And I was not only worried and very upset, I was very mad and angry that my phone had gotten stolen. So that just kind of like made the rest of the day not so great. So like I was kind of not really happy about that, but I understood that stuff like this happens all the time, but the fact that it happened in another country was not okay. So after everybody got loaded up into the lobby, we had checked out, and we just headed for the bus. And everybody was just really checking on me to see if I was doing all right, because I had just had my phone I had just been pickpocketed and my phone had gotten stolen. We had gotten on the bus and had headed straight to this really cool travel destination where we got to be in the center, literally in the center of the earth, in the middle of the earth, which was so cool. Everybody was just still checking up on me to see if I was doing all right, because like I was very upset the fact that I got pickpocketed, that my phone had gotten stolen, because like my phone is like my life. It's like my child. Like, I always do a good job of keeping up with my cell phone, and just the fact that someone had decided to pickpocket me and take my cell phone was not okay. But thankfully, we had called my dad and had told him the situation, what had happened, and they took care of it and was able to clear everything on my phone and reset it, so that way the person who had took it didn't like try to steal anything or try to hack any of my apps or social media. So, and like my dad understood that this was not my fault. So like I had felt really bad that this had happened to me, but I tried to like not let it get the best of me and like not try to ruin the rest of my day. And so going to the center of the earth was really cool, and it was really neat because like you could tell like we had done like some balancing, and like you could tell like it was just so different, but it was so cool. And then after a while, we went to this little place at the travel destination where they had kind of showed us how chocolate was being made. And it was really cool. We did get to sample some chocolate. It was really, really good. And we got to buy some chocolate, which was really nice. I had bought some cranberry chocolate that I still have, that I have not opened at all. I was really glad to have it. And then after that, after we got done at the travel destination place, being at the center of the earth in Ecuador, we had loaded up onto the bus and headed straight for the airport, which was about a 2-hour drive, and we were jamming out to music, which was fun. And then once we got to the airport, we unloaded our suitcases and we said goodbye to the bus driver that had been driving us back and forth from the church, the hotel, to VBS, and just to all the places that we had been. Said thank you, and then we went to have dinner at this really neat little place that had like different restaurants and the missionaries there had dinner with us one last time, and we just like, as we were eating, we were just talking about the trip overall, and I just kind of had brought up just how upset I was about getting pickpocketed. And this is where one of the young men had said this to me, which has still stuck with me since the last day of the mission trip. And he had told me that even though I had gotten my phone stolen, the memories will always be with me forever. And so I took that in consideration and just thought that was really amazing what he had told me. So still to this day, I still keep that in mind, that even though my phone was stolen, the memories of the this trip will always be with me forever, and I can just visually remember it myself. And then after there, we had waited to go do our luggage and get through security. So like that was about maybe a few hours. So I had taken some time to write in my diary a little bit, kind of half of what we did. And then after a while, we were finally able to go and get our luggage checked in and go through security. Yeah, it's just like, even through security, it took a while just because there was a lot of people at the airport. And then after we got our bags checked and got through security, we had a bit of a really long delay, just because they were kind of suspecting some people, like just making sure the people were, like, I don't know why, it's just like they were questioning some people, even some people from our group were getting questioned. And it's just, I kind of thought it was ridiculous, just because like this was taking way too long and we should have been boarded onto the plane a while. And so it ended up being around maybe 11:35 when we had boarded the plane. And so it took 5 hours to fly from Ecuador to Houston, Texas. So we were on the plane for about maybe 5 to 6 hours. The first half of the flight, we were up, like having kind of eaten something and watching a movie. And after that, I decided to rest on the rest of the flight just to catch up on sleep. And then I think around maybe 6:25 in the morning on Sunday, June 30th, was the full day that we were coming home. It wasn't until around 6:25 that I woke up that we had landed in Houston, Texas. After we had landed, we had gotten our bags and went to go check our bags in for the flight home. Went through security again, and after we did all that, we went and ate breakfast. I think we had all wanted to eat Chick-fil-A, but as y'all know, Chick-fil-A is closed on Sundays, and we were so mad because we were all craving Chick-fil-A, and I had really wanted to eat some little mini chicken biscuits because they are so good. But I ended up going to Whataburger to get their cinnamon rolls because they are so good, and got some orange juice, and we all just like went and had breakfast at like some different places. Some people had went to get Starbucks to get coffee. And so yeah, after that we had went to where we were waiting at, the little place where we were gonna go board, and some of us had caught up on sleep, and we decided to watch like our church service online. And even the pastor had even told us that had told the people at church that we were coming home, and that they were all really excited. And so like that made me really happy to hear that, even watching the service online. And so after that, some of us had played a few card games, and then most of us ended up taking naps as we were waiting to board the plane. And then after a while, we ate lunch, and it was really good. Me and this one girl had shared a pizza. It was 6 slices. She had 1/2 and I had 1/2, and it was really good. And then a couple of minutes before we were about to board our plane, we had taken some time to go to the restroom one last time, kind of freshen up a little, brushing our teeth, hair, kind of get freshened up a little bit before going home, which was really good because I did not want to come back home to Arkansas with bad breath and my hair looking like a mess, like with morning bed hair. So I took in time to go to the restroom, of course, before boarding the plane. Took some time to brush my teeth and brush my hair to make sure I was all good. So After that, we all gathered up to go board the plane, and the flight home from Texas to Arkansas was really, really good. Of course, we had no delays, which thank God for that. And then after that, we all gathered. Once we landed in Arkansas, it felt so good to be home. Like, I was ready to see my parents, my siblings, and most importantly, I was ready to see my dog Flash. And so after we landed, we got all of our stuff that we had brought with us on the plane, got ready, and then we boarded off the plane and went to go get our luggage. And I'm not kidding when I say it felt so good to be home. Felt so good to be back in Arkansas. And we walked towards the escalator that goes down to where we can go check our bags in, also pick up luggage. And as we were going down, everybody that had came, like all family members and people from church, came to cheer us on as we were coming down. And when I came down, I immediately went to my parents and hugged them, like gave them a good hug. And I think I could tell they were really happy to see me. And then my sister had came up and hugged me, and she was crying because she was happy to see me, but also she was kind of worried since I had gotten pickpocketed, got my phone stolen. She was very worried that I wasn't going to be able to come back. Was worried that I wasn't going to be able to make it back without my cell phone. But I was really happy to see that she was really happy to see me back and safe. And I was just really happy to see everybody, and we said our goodbyes to everybody. We had gotten the luggage, and then after we left the airport, we ran through Taco Bell because I was really hungry. Had eaten since we had eaten at the airport in Texas. So I went through Taco Bell. I had really wanted Chick-fil-A, but of course it was Sunday and it was closed. But after we went through Taco Bell to get me something to eat, we went straight home. As we were heading home, I just talked about the trip, just like what we got to do. And immediately, as soon as we pulled in the driveway and came into the house, Flash literally ran so fast to me. He was so happy to see me. I'm not kidding. He was so happy to finally see me, happy that I was finally home, to the point that he just jumped on me and just started licking my face and just started licking me and kissing me like crazy. And I was so happy to finally see him. Like, that was the sweetest homecoming from the mission trip. And after I came home from the airport, I took some time to take a shower, to eat, and just to get rested. But yeah, that just coming home was great. I was still upset at the fact that I got pickpocketed in Ecuador, but I just decided to not let that bug me since I came home. And yep, so overall, thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed getting to share with you guys just my full experience of what it was like going on this mission trip to Ecuador, and just sharing with you what God did on this trip and what he did through our group, and most importantly, just sharing what he did through me on this trip. It was so worth it, and I'm really glad that I went, because I felt like I needed to go on this trip, and I'm really glad I did. And I really do hope that one day I can get to have another opportunity to get to go back and hopefully see the people that I met and get to see the kids that I got to minister at VBS. So until then, remember, God loves you so much, and he will always be with you wherever you go. And I'll see you guys next time. I love you all. Bye.